Becoming is better than being. And it's by those words that we consider ourselves to always be a work in progress. It means that you are never complete and you always have the opportunity to become someone better.
It allows you to be very comfortable while you're making mistakes, and you get to accept yourself for who you are.
Yes, we are a work in progress. Hi, I'm AX.
I am your host, GK.
And I am Kusam.
Welcome to the show.
Karibuni.
So guys, before we get into the discussion, and it's gonna be a big discussion today, let us begin with an icebreaker, which has been produced to us by our new producer for the day. We're gonna call her JK. So, each of us have received papers with a letter on it, and there's a theme. We'll hope the audience can get it at some point. So what you do is you'd split the questions that are there and ask them to the next person.
Okay.
Give people the clue, and then you ask the question. Okay? So, Chris M, why don't you begin?
So one question, two.
So there are 4 questions I think you have.
Two to me, two
her,
to GK.
Yeah, so what do you call something complete that includes everything? What do you call something complete that includes everything? I want GK to take this one.
Something complete that includes everything.
Yes, it's complete and includes everything.
No, because there's a word for it, right?
Do I give him the clue or not?
Yes, give me the clue, please.
The word starts with a C.
Cluster.
Wrong.
Something that is complete but includes everything.
But if it's complete, then it definitely includes everything.
Are you
Not
guys giving up?
AX, come on, use your brain.
Only thing I can think of is cosmic. That's not right.
Comprehensive.
Okay.
All right,
Next question.
Next question. Okay. What do you call it when someone is being aware of something?
Clairvoyant.
Cognizant.
Cognizant.
Clairvoyant is like you can read people's minds, I think, or see into the future or something.
I think I was kind of correct, but it's okay.
No, you weren't, except the L.
Do I continue?
Yeah, continue.
Why not? Okay. What do you call it when someone is being honest and clean with you?
Cleanliness.
What? Honest and
I'm being very clean. Very open with you.
Confident, not confident. Honest and clean.
And open.
And
just put open.
Open. Closed.
I'll give you a clue, right? You remember these prank shows? They used to call it dash camera.
Candid.
Candid.
Correct.
Okay.
It's candid. It's candid.
Last one. Thinking of Just for Laughs, I was thinking about the Kenyan one.
Caught on candid camera.
Yeah, candid camera.
Okay.
What do you call it when you influence and dominate with some special charm, art, or appeal? So, what do you call it when you influence and dominate with some special charm, art, or appeal? I'll give you a clue if you guys...
Charisma?
Charisma. It's charismatic. Yeah, so... GK, you did very poorly.
Let me ask the questions. Take a bit of a break there. I think there was some corruption here. You guys had some...
Hey, another C word. Huh? You finally got one.
Okay, I'll ask you the first question, then you'll tell me if you want your clue. What do you call it when you obtain or secure something?
You gain.
Someone here is correct. And that person is Chris M. Welcome. What do you call it when you are being thankful?
Grateful.
Hey, Chris M is just killing it. I'm starting to suspect certain things. Okay, next question. What do you call it when you are promised with certainty?
Guarantee. You're supposed to split the questions. He's done
next,
too.
But what you need, it's not necessarily accurate. You have to add something to that.
Guaranteed.
Correct. There we
Really?
go.
Really?
And finally, what do you call it when something is considerably above average?
Great.
Chris M wins this one hands down.
All right.
Okay. This is where I make a comeback.
Okay. I doubt it. What do you...
Okay.
What do you call something that is open to more than one interpretation?
Alternative.
No.
No? Okay.
Something that is open
To more than one interpretation. Like it's not clear.
ambiguous.
There we go. I told you not to make you come back. What do you call something that is sudden and unexpected?
Abrupt.
Yep. What do you call something very unreasonable or inappropriate?
Chris M.
Are you throwing it to me to answer?
No.
that's
That's
the
what I'm calling
answer.
it. Anyways, what is the question again?
What do you call something very unreasonable or inappropriate?
And I was gonna say unfair.
The clue is A, right?
Yes, the clue is A.
What do you call something that is
Unreasonable?
unreasonable?
And inappropriate.
Inappropriate. Appalling.
No. Some might say this word might also describe something that's crazy. Like, it's not something you would ever think of.
Can we pass for a moment, then we'll come
Move
back?
to the
Okay.
next question. Come back to this one.
All right. What do you call something when you go on an unusual or exciting or daring experience?
Adventure.
There we go.
I finally got one. Thank you. Okay.
So
Repeat
back
question
to
3.
question 3. What do you call something very unreasonable or inappropriate?
And appalling is wrong.
Appalling is wrong.
Astounding.
Astounding is also wrong.
Okay.
Man, you play Wordle every day. Come on. Use them skills.
So is it a 5-letter word?
No.
Okay, then now Wordle is thrown out the window. Astute. No, that's good.
No.
I give up.
You will, okay, fine. You've given up. You won't even try to answer it because we want to give him a clue.
If you give him a clue, I'm back here.
Just give the clue.
Fine. You were close when you were going ab.
Okay, so it's
Absurd.
AB. If it's upset, I'm gonna be very upset. No,
It's absurd.
no.
So Chris Sam is the undisputed winner of this game with AX a close second.
Distant second and
Close second. And then
Anyways,
GK.
this one I admit there's no hope for me in that one.
See you next week.
See you next week. We can close and keep progress.
Aye.
But anyways, let's move into the discussion. And today our discussion is topical because this is the first recording that WIP has had since the news that a serious presidential candidate was going to be deputized by a woman. That is, Raila Odinga is going to be deputized by none other than Martha Wangari Karua. For those of you who don't know, her Kenyan name is Wangari. And a number of questions have come to light about the whole concept of women representation in politics, and it's people have been calling it poor and all these other things. But because I am not the best placed here to start this conversation, I'm going to hand over to the person best placed to ask us questions with regards to this whole issue.
Okay, so we're going to start with the very, very, very basics. Do you think that women are as well represented in politics as men?
I think
And there is a right answer.
The answer is no.
the answer is 100% no. Let me give you some facts here.
Okay.
Kenya has never had a female president or a female DP. That's a given, okay? In 2017, so this is the last elections, in the race for president, 8 people ran.
Yes.
0 were women.
Yes.
Out of the 201 male governor candidates, only 9 were women. Of the 236 male senators running candidates, there are only 20 women. And of this 1,762 men running for MP, 131 were women.
Shocking.
And of now, this is the one that shocked
is
me
the-
at much. Out of the 10,958 male MCA candidates, now you have to get that. Number one, 10,958 candidates for
For
MCA.
MCA.
There are too many. But anyways, only 899 were women. That is just under 10%. It's about
How many seats were available for MCS? Like 1,000 and change.
1450.
1450.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in light of these statistics, do you guys think why is it that women are so underrepresented in politics? Wow. Why? Is it because women are inherently just apolitical and don't care about politics? Is it that women are particularly bad at politics for one reason or another, perhaps tied to gender? Or is it that there are systemic issues that act as barriers to entry for women?
When you were asking that question, you said a very good word. Is it that women are bad at politics? The answer is yes. Bad at leadership, I didn't say that one. I said bad at politics, right? So politics and leadership, two different things, right?
Yeah.
Politics is dirty, it's gritty, it's
murky.
Very murky. Like you said, it's murky,
Everything is on the table when it comes to politics. Nothing is off the
You
table.
see, unfortunately, for women, there's a lot more to attack you by, right? I can attack you by your looks, your family, your children, all that.
My intelligence or lack thereof.
All that, right? And maybe because women are a bit emotional or can be emotional, that is taken as a negative, and that's what I said can be. So take it easy.
Yeah.
Don't be emotional. So
Emotional. Me. As if people haven't seen you whenever your favorite team loses at football, please. Okay,
okay. So I'll take that, and then I'll say it's okay. It's true. I've been very emotional at that point, but that's politics. You take it and then you move on, right?
Yeah.
But when it comes to politics and women, some of them, they'll go to the field, compete, and you see, one big fallacy that some women have is they'll have a fair they'll compete fairly.
Like politics is a fair game.
It's not going to
Fair
be
game.
fair.
It's about merit. See, women are recently have been getting positions
Yeah.
in the boardrooms everywhere.
But it's a fact.
From merit,
if,
right?
if you look at the news, almost every day you have stories about the news head of marketing.
Okay, hang on. Wait.
Uh-huh.
I see where you're going with this. No, hang on. I see where you're going with this, and the fact that, like, in the news, you're seeing a lot more coverage of women in these positions of leadership, which is a good thing, right?
Not just coverage. You're seeing more women in leadership.
They are.
Across the board. The only place in which there is a clear and complete lack of representation has been the political scene. If you look at it, the amount of, in my school, for example, let me not lie to you, we were charazwad by women in terms of grades.
Okay.
In my university, the leading candidates, the amount of people who
Were
got
also women.
summa cum laude, they were women. And it was across all fields. And in representation, even in spaces I have worked, the people who have been my bosses for the longest part of my life have been women. Fortunate or unfortunately, you're not my boss. But
Not yet.
not yet. But politics, I would be inclined to agree with Chris M. It's a different beast. And so you see many cases of, have you heard stories of people being blocked out? Like they put tires on the road to block an MP from getting to a specific location to campaign.
Yeah.
You've heard stories about crowds being hired, all these things being done so that you can get access to this great leadership position of leader in terms of MP, MCA, all these things.
Yeah.
It's very costly. But the question I would ask is, yes, those are barriers. Those are the facts about politics. But it doesn't necessarily explain why so few of them are running for those positions.
I was just going to ask that same question, because a lot of the time whenever we're discussing female participation in very public spaces or very like male-dominated spaces, we often leave the discussion after we've said, women aren't equally represented, boom, the discussion's over. We never ask why. Like, why is it that women, is it that women feel like they can't enter politics, or is it just certain facts that are preventing them from entering politics?
Facts such as?
I would say, for example, the lack of civic education that opens up the possibilities for like young girls at the age of 5, letting them know that, hey, being a politician is a viable dream that you as a woman can aspire to. I would argue that even conversations around the home and familial attitudes about the role of a woman in public and in private will influence not only how women vote, but also whether or not a woman is inclined to want to be in politics. I would also argue that the fact that women are more likely to experience physical abuse that is more likely to be of a sexual nature might also turn some people away from politics. So you have all these, I would say there's structural barriers. You have all these structural barriers that almost disincentivize women from entering politics. This is just what I think.
I would kind of agree with you to an extent, because if you look at the narratives that have been spun worldwide about female politicians, you hear stories about how they sometimes have to lose their
femininity,
likeness to be able to get access to the seat of leadership. So it does question. You look at people like Angela Merkel, the way people talked about her, Theresa May, who was the Iron Lady? You know her,
Margaret Thatcher.
There we go. I knew she knew her. They were known to be a certain way. They had to behave in a certain way to acquire that leadership position that they got.
And it's because the values that we ascribe to leadership and in politics are coded as masculine. This ability to make bold decisions, intelligent decisions, objective. Like you were saying, like, women are too emotional to be part of politics, right? That assumption is also what might prevent women from being taken seriously in the legislature. Because when a woman comes up and she's passionate about a particular issue, she'll be dismissed by a male legislator for being too emotional. Okay. Meanwhile, if a man displays that same passion, it's no, he's passionate. He cares. He knows what he cares about, and he actually wants to get this issue solved. Then, like, it's this whole double standard, right? I think I have a quote here. A businessman is aggressive. A businesswoman is pushy. A businessman is good on details. A businesswoman is picky. He loses his temper because he's so involved with his job, and she's just bleep.
Okay.
He follows through and she doesn't know when to quit. Like, it's this double standard, the exact same trait, but because but when it's experienced or lived through a man, it's seen as this positive thing we all ought to aspire to. When it's done by a woman, it's made into a negative.
Okay, I have a question for you, but I'll let Chris go first, then I'll ask my question.
I have a problem when you say women have not been given enough education to know that they can also participate in politics. Clearly, women have had enough education to know that they can compete with men in the boardroom, in the classroom, and everywhere else. We are saying, GK is saying rather, that in school, women were better than the guys.
Yep.
Where he works, same thing applies. So these women know what's going on. They know that they can participate in this electoral process. Do you think it could be that these same women look at politics and they're like, rather than going for that?
So that's actually true. Like, a couple of studies do suggest that women tend to be more election and risk averse. Women do not see themselves, envision themselves as doing these male professions because they don't want to give up their femininity, right? But then you also have this really unfortunate kind of consequence where if one woman fails, it's seen as a failure for all women, which is not something men have ever had to go through. Like, if Usain Bolt loses a race, it's not that all mankind has lost this race, it's Usain Bolt. But if a female runner loses that race, it's like, no, all women have lost, all women can't do it.
Do you think also it has something to do with women and how they package things, right? So right now, and I'm not attacking anyone, but when Martha Karua was selected, she said, as the Kenyan women, this is a big win for us. So already she's putting herself out there as a representative of that group, right? So the issue is, when she fails, then it reflects on all women, because that's how she took it. But for men, for me, if I'm elected, I just go there, I'm like, hey, I'm Chris M, I'm going to represent this constituency, blah, blah, blah. I'm packaging myself as Chris M. So now the packaging and how you package yourself in those positions makes it easier for me to blame your failures on the entire group of people.
But haven't you ever wondered why it is that women have to package themselves as like, I'm like, a man can package himself as an individual, can win and lose as an individual, whereas a woman has to surround herself with like-minded people, specifically women. You see the same thing in marginalized communities, right? You see a lot of, like, especially in the African-American Black community, you see a lot of support Black-owned businesses, right? Because we know that when one of us succeeds, we all succeed, especially if you're in a minority position. Versus, I mean, I don't want to overgeneralize, versus like when a man succeeds or fails, it's seen as an individual success or a failure.
So AX, I think what the best thing to do right now, because the conversation is going to be very juicy and we're going to continue it, we'll take a quick break, and we'll come back and touch on it from your question.
Sure.
Okay. Welcome back to Work in Progress, and we're getting right into the conversation about women representation in politics. And AX had talked about why women have to gather together to vote. And the question I was going to ask her even was on that whole issue, where you remember the story of Hillary Clinton, which is probably the closest that America have ever gotten to having a woman become president.
Well, you could argue Kamala Harris is a lot closer because Joe Biden just has to.
She's closer, but I'm just saying in the past.
Am I wrong?
Let's say the electoral way,
Fine.
she was the closest that women ever got to becoming the president. And one of the things that people said about Hillary Clinton is that women were not voting for this woman to get this position. They weren't supporting her. In fact, many of them either chose not to vote, or many of them made the unfortunate decision of voting for Donald Trump instead.
How is that unfortunate?
The man is a sexist.
For those people. So the question...
He said, grab them by the...
And let's say they have a manifesto, right? And I read the manifesto, and here's my problem, yeah? My problem is, she's the one who brought attention to women not voting for her, right? In a proper processes, women did not vote for me, we move. But she felt slighted that women did not support.
Gather together.
It's not slighted as much as it is like, I don't understand. Like, don't vote for me, fine, but him!
But that then lies the whole question. That when opportunities like this arise, the question is, can you band together to vote for the moment? And I know it's a bit of an unfair question to ask all women,
because men would
to
never
align
have to
themselves
go
to
through
this issue. But if you want to reach these milestones, sometimes you have to band together for the moment, see the opportunity that lies and the history that you can create, and gather together to make that history happen.
Okay,
it's like what happened when Barack Obama was voted in. Many people had problems with his policies. Many people had promises with his slogan, "Yes, we can." Many people had problems with a lot of what he had to promise. But they understood that the ends justified the means. That the whole goal was to get someone who did not look
So-
like an old white man in front and become a president of the United States. And they achieved it.
And here is where I disagree with you, right? This idea that I have to support a woman just because she's a woman is... Ooh, I have to trying really hard not to swear. It's just, I disagree with it wholeheartedly because why should I have to support somebody whose politics I disagree with simply because she's a woman? Like a man would never be asked to do that. Even with Barack Obama, like, yeah, people disagreed with his politics, yeah, people may have found issues with his slogan.
And they voted for him because he was black.
However, they didn't vote for him because he was black. They voted for him because
he was black.
He was running against, it was 2008, who was it? Wasn't it? It was McCain? He was running against McCain.
No.
He was.
He represented something different. But anyways, let me ask you the second question. Right now, we've had efforts by governments, especially in the African continent, that we have to applaud, but also question, by governments and by people across the world to include women in politics more often. In Kenya, we have two things that have tried to include women more often. Number one is the women rep position, where every county votes for one woman to get into elective politics. And in the second one is the 2/3 gender rule, which has never really been passed, but it's something that we need to push for. So the question I have is, in the women rep position, have women, and this is a question to you, AX, have women been motivated by the individuals they have seen running for these elective positions? Have you put your best foot forward in terms of the people representing you in the National Assembly? Because I do recall someone throwing cake at people. There was someone running for women rep position in Muranga and throwing cake at people.
She's
and this
still
is someone who has the opportunity to become the next women rep.
Yeah.
So the question I have, if we've agreed that a number of the greatest leaders we're seeing in the country right now are coming from women, a number of the most efficient people are coming from women, look at the people you're electing in the lower levels. You're not electing people of substance like Charity Ngilu or Martha Karua or all these others. You're electing populists as well, aren't you?
Yeah, but you have to wonder why those particular candidates made it through. Maybe they had an easier time raising money than the more credible candidates. Because as we know, women in politics, for the most part, you kind of have to play a game and you have to play it well. Right? A lot of the credible candidates that we may have wanted to elect perhaps don't want to run because they don't want to play that game. A lot of the credible candidates that we may want to run and may want to vote for are not good at fundraising. Right? So there are a whole number of factors, a lot of which contribute. Yes, but but why is it that whenever an insufficient or an incompatible or an incompetent candidate is elected into office and she's a woman, it's seen as a failures of all womankind? Whereas, for example, if it's a man who is elected into office and he is incompetent, it is that man's failure.
And I don't know if
it is that electorate's failure. I don't know if I'm going to sound a bit like a very strong feminist, and I am with this issue. My problem is you have to understand the goal you're working towards. Yes. The women rep position was created to include women into politics at a stronger level. It's a battle that you're continuing to fight. As you fight it, you have to put your best foot forward. Chris, that smile is making me happy. What do you want to say? All true. However, you also need to recognize the fact that in the legislature, the women's rep position is not taken seriously. And that itself is a byproduct of our society that does not take women seriously. Chris M.
This narrative, I'm actually now getting tired of it, that all ills that afflict women is the fault of the man.
We're not saying it's men's fault.
The women rep seat.
Let you speak.
Yeah, fine. The women rep seat is a seat that, as a society, we came up with the constitution and said we'll reserve 47 seats purely for women, right? Now, these are seats that women have to compete against women. Men have nothing to do with those seats, right? But then we have some aspirants, some female aspirants, women aspirants rather, who go into that seat and do some things that even leave you questioning, was that necessary?
Yeah.
Did you have to do that to, quote unquote, appease?
And the funny thing is, the strong women candidates don't run for the women rep. They run for MP, they run for senator, they run for governor.
And I've explained you the reason why.
I actually don't think. What happens is, those who are running for these seats sometimes do some antics that make us perceive that seat as being not as important. But I'm going to move away from that conversation for a second and ask you this question, AX. Yeah? Right now, say me and our producer Anna are competing for the MCA seat, Fifth Estate MCA, right? You vote
I would win
for
anyways.
you vote for me,
Yeah.
not Anna, because you don't think she's qualified or whatever, right? And then comes the nomination process, because the 2/3 gender rule. She is nominated as a nominated MCA. Are you okay with that decision?
No.
But that's what happens. Most women are okay with, because there's a law that they want to bring up now that if you want to nominate someone, this person must have actively participated
In politics.
You can't just go and take someone from anywhere, right? So if you don't want to vote for them, they will still come in, and then you can't blame us and say, but she wasn't even qualified, that's why I voted for Aman. Remember, she's still going to come in, so why not vote for her anyway, and then get the men from somewhere else, even nomination, because if you're nominated in parliament, I don't think you get the same respect, because you don't have a constituency, you don't have a budget and all that.
Yeah.
So give the women the mandate, let them prove themselves or whatever. If they fail, they fail. Let's not, because I was reading somewhere, real quick, I'll finish. The reason as to why sometimes women don't support women is because of jealousy. I was reading somewhere, you'll correct me if I'm wrong. They say this woman, she's running her family, she's running her life, she's running a constituency or a county or whatever, right? And then there's another woman somewhere who's not able to keep up, right? Maybe she can't even go to the gym. She's like, how is this particular woman able to do all this? Well, I can't even do that. It's not supposed to be like that, right? So from there, like a jealousy thing, they're like, no, I'd rather give it to a man so that my quote unquote, inadequacies are not highlighted. I said quote unquote, so don't.
I'm not coming for you for that.
Yes.
Not at all.
Final
Not
point
at
is-
all.
Final point. You have a few minutes.
Okay, I'm
1 minute.
not even going to touch that, because that requires a lot of discussions about patriarchy. And the reason why I'm bringing up the patriarchy, first of all, the patriarchy is not specifically it's not about men. It's a system that empowers men over women historically. Even you have to admit.
Okay.
No,
Even you have to admit that at certain points in history, men have had a privileged position over women.
Okay.
And those privileges have allowed you to gain advantages that perpetuate themselves over centuries. That is how privilege works.
Okay.
Right? It's the same reason why, for example, if I make a lot of money, my kids are going to benefit from the money even if they've done nothing to deserve it. And the benefits that they get from having that money will allow them to make even more money. Right? That's how privilege works. So when you're saying that I, as a woman, I was blaming men, no, I'm blaming the system that empowers you. I want to break that system down because it also suffocates you as well. Don't you remember the last episode we had a discussion about why it is that men don't go out and seek mental health treatment, yeah? It's because the patriarchy tells them men are supposed to be strong, and to be weak is to not be a man. Therefore, to go out and ask for help is weakness, and that makes you less of a man. And being a man is so important that you will do everything in your power to maintain that masculinity. That's it.
Okay.
That's how I'm going to end it.
This is a conversation that will continue to be rolled out for the next few months, for the next few years, until we reach a level. So we're going to conclude Work in Progress there. And as we conclude, I'd like to recommend a book for all young ladies to read, and all young men as well. It's
Everyone.
Wangari
So
Maathai's
basically
Everyone. It's Wangari Maathai's Unbowed. Give it a read. It is a brilliant book. Thank you so much for watching Work in Progress, and we will be here with you next time.
Bye.